Kevin is here today to come and inspire our Academy members and speak to them about business growth, mindset and motivation. Kevin founded Checkatrade, that's the link to the construction sector, but he's done incredible things as an entrepreneur. This man is an absolute legend. We've now had a working relationship over the last few years where Kevin's spoken, inspired many of our customers at Trade Mastermind. Last week he absolutely smashed it at the Academy. You blew them away, so thank you for that. And he's here today to share some of his story and some business advice with the listeners. So we're going to jump straight in. So Kevin founded Checkatrade, built an incredible business, sold for a big number. But could you take us back to the beginning? What inspired you to start the organization?
The desire to feed my children was a big one.
Yep.
To make my wife proud of me was a big one.
Fantastic.
But really what happened was I'd already had a little bit experience in pulling together like a book of tradesmen, which went through all my local residents' homes. And I think I was one of the first in the UK to do that. Everyone today gets one of those little blue books through their doors, don't they? But I never really did anything with it. I never took it any further. And the reason why I made that little blue book, and it was called the Local Business Directory, was because I was a carpet cleaner. And I wanted somewhere to advertise.
Nice.
So that's why I pulled that little blue book together. But after about 5 or 6 years of doing that, just once a year, a tornado went through my hometown and it caused £10 million worth of damage. Many people were ripped off by tradesmen as a result of that. And I could not understand at that point in my life that if I went into Tesco's and walked out with a bottle of wine and I didn't pay for it, I'd get arrested. But if a tradesman comes to your front door, takes money off you, they might not even do any work at all, or they might do a really bad job, but they can get away with that, and they can go and do it to people in the next street and then people in the next street. And I thought that can't be right. So I looked at the guilds, the federations, places like the Guilds of Master Craftsmen and the Federation of Art and all the others, and I could only really find one of the roofing federations that had any sensible vetting, but that was just to find roofers. And certainly the local authority had nothing. All they had was trading standards, but back then it was called weights and measures, and they didn't have an answer. So I thought, well, maybe if I could ask tradesmen for their insurance documents, if it's a job that needed qualifications, I'll get that too. Have you got any letters from previous customers that have said, well done, thanks for a great job? Because that was pre-internet. So it was that tornado gave me the inspiration to do something, but it wasn't an overnight light bulb.
Because you had a marketing background and you saw the opportunity in the books that you were creating. Did you, when you did Checkatrade from the start, did you go straight online or did you have like a Checkatrade directory?
No. The internet was there, but only a few people really knew about it and understood it. I understood and knew a little bit more about it than some because I worked in the print industry and I worked in graphic design, so there was an element of using computers that I was more into than most people at that point. It was just a printed product to start off with.
And then when did you move online and when did it start to pick up traction?
Well, first of all, my directories, the idea behind it was no one stands out more than anybody else. They're all good at what they do, and I wanted it to create enough work for an individual to be happy and to come back to me. So I wouldn't have 20 builders in a directory. I used to do it like builders, I'd have 6, plumbers I'd have 4, electricians I'd have 3, etc., etc.
It's amazing to see how many people adopted that model, because I'm from Peterborough, and I think when I first started as a plumber it was 2012, and there was like a local one called Safe Local Trades, there was many offshoots from that idea that you created.
But what was happening is that tradesmen were coming to me saying, I want to go into your product. And I'm going, well, I'm sorry, but I've got my 4 plumbers. You can go on a waiting list, and then I'm thinking, well, I'm turning money down here, and I really need to look at the internet and start seeing whether there's anything in that scope where I could have something online to have those additional people that want to join, but no room in the directory for. So that's when we started to go online.
When did the business really start taking off? What did the growth look like?
It was really rocky because I had no business acumen. I had no qualification. I was good at art.
Yep.
That was it. I had no business acumen. When I found out that I should be paying the government money for employing people, that was a shock.
Yeah.
And it got me into a lot of trouble.
Yep.
When I found out with VAT, for example, you pay by cash or accrual, I wanted to do cash because I only wanted to give the government
Yep.
VAT. No one told me that once you reach a certain amount,
Yep.
you have to go to accrual.
Yep.
When I've invoiced someone for 12 months and it's month 2, there's an awful lot of VAT I haven't received, but now
Yep.
I've got to give it to the government straight away. That nearly put me out of business. So it was really quite rocky for me.
Yep.
And I also got to a point, this is round about 2 years after I started, that I wanted to introduce online monitoring. I'm asking you as a tradesman, give me letters of happy customers.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, what if I could get a continuous stream of letters? I could do that through the internet. So what do you do when you have an idea like that? You go online and you try and find someone to copy, but there isn't anyone to copy.
Yeah.
So I started to put that in place, and it was that gave me a little bit of a boost there, because
Nice.
tradesmen are now saying, you can go and see what all my previous customers have said about me. So that was a little bit of a boost, but that wasn't the main boost. I basically bounced along the bottom of life for many, many years. I started Checkatrade when I was around about 35.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until I was about 43, 44 that I really started to make a difference. And that was because I started to understand my business was only going to ever be as big as me.
Yeah.
And improving me and my mindsets and how I thought about things and how I thought about myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I addressed that, because I thought I was nobody, wasn't going to achieve anything. You took my business card out and you said, you're worth 20 grand and you're not really going to achieve much in
Yeah.
life, and who are you to just think you could be anything in life?
Yeah.
That was me.
You know, knowing that transition that you went on, what was that pivotal moment for you? What made you feel worthy? What inspired you? What got you motivated? Was it a speaker, a coach, a mentor, a book?
It was a set of CDs by a guy called Bob Harrison. He's an American guy. He's
Nice.
called Mr. Increase. He's quite an elderly gentleman now.
Yep.
He had this set of CDs, a typical American phrase,
Yep.
awakening the great multitude mind.
Amazing.
And basically, my business partner at the time, he'd been to America, and I don't know
Yeah.
whether he went to one of his conventions or not, but he had these set of CDs, there's 5 CDs in it, and he says, Kev, I'm going to throw this away. Listen to it.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, I'll listen to it. So I'm in the car and I put the first one in, and that changed my life.
Fantastic.
Changed my life.
Yeah. I love that, because I've been on a very similar journey. I had that negative mindset once upon a time, and you know, the personal development world is looked upon with a lot of skepticism by quite a lot of people, but it's amazing what it can do if you embrace it and, you know, think of things in a different way. I've heard Bob Proctor say, when he went to his early mentor, his mentor said to him, look, you've tried it your way, it hasn't worked out for you, try it my way and you won't be any worse off than where you are now. And he went on a transformation, and, you know, many people have, haven't they?
I get those shivers down the back of
Yeah.
my neck when I hear people say things like that. I am convinced
Yeah.
you can have 2 people with an equal background, with equal intelligence, with equal ability,
Yeah.
but one will excel and one might not.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And I'm convinced it's because of their attitude and their expectations and the
Absolutely.
way they think.
Yeah, mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah, mindset's really powerful. So let's say you're a business owner watching this. Most people will be a trades business owner. They haven't done very well in school. They went into trade because they didn't have any other route to education. They've, you know, bit the bullet and got off the tools perhaps, and they've started a business, but they're not quite in a mindset where they believe they can achieve more. What were the steps that you went through to kind of make that transition?
These set of CDs taught me there's 2 ways to change your mindset.
Yeah.
One is emotional implantation.
Yep.
Something happens to you instantly and you go, bang, you
Yeah.
got cancer. You're going to change your lifestyle and what you do. But that doesn't really happen in business that often.
Yeah.
And in your life, it doesn't happen very often. So how do you change? The other way is really boring. It's called repetition. It's repetition. It's constantly telling yourself where you are going, what you think you can achieve, or what it's telling yourself something you don't believe.
Yeah.
I am going to be writing a check for £1 million
Yeah.
for a charity one day.
Yeah.
And I've done that now. I don't know how many millions I've given to
Yeah.
charity. It's writing that and going, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I am going to be regional. I am going to be national.
Yeah.
And even though you don't believe it, and then it's absolutely absorbing your entire life with positivity.
Yeah.
Find anything that you can listen to or watch which is really positive.
Yeah.
Inspires you to do better. And slowly but surely, over not a week, not a month, but over months, your mindset will start to change. Where you've been saying to yourself, I'm going to be national,
Yeah.
and you don't believe it, suddenly you'll be going, oh, one day you'll just go, well, if I'm going to be national, I'm going to have to be regional first. How can I achieve that?
Yeah.
Well, I need to be on the radio. Where before you'd never, who am I to be on the radio? I never get on the radio, which is where most people's mindsets are.
Yeah.
And it's just changing yourself gradually and slowly through repetition over a number of months. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
But what I was told was this: only 2 in 100 people will do this.
Yeah.
But those 2 will outperform the other 98.
Yeah.
And that's my experience.
There's a really nice quote that I like. A religious person says, God says, believe and I will show you. An atheist says, show me and then I'll believe, you know? And so you've got to have that power or that belief that, you know, when you're down and out, the odds are stacked against you and you can't possibly fathom how it is that the dots are going to connect. And you put your faith in God, in the universe, and believe in that higher power, that you just hope that, you know, it's going to carry you forward. And did you do that at one point in time? Because the repetition over a period of time has got you to believe, and then you put your faith
Absolutely.
in the...
I don't like pushing my beliefs upon people,
Yeah.
so I don't normally bring it up. But
Yeah.
now you brought it up,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you
Good.
about it. Opposing core values.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Christian or not, everyone will have something that pulls them back.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's what most of us believe as we're growing up.
Yeah.
For me, not only did I have you're not good enough, I also had in me, wrongly, it's not right, Kev, for you to have power, influence and money. It's not right because you're a Christian.
Yeah.
You should be meek, mild and humble and bounce along the bottom.
Yeah.
So my journey not only involved absorbing my entire life with positivity in what I was listening and watching, I also had to combat my demons where I genuinely believed at that point it was wrong for a Christian to have wealth.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to my Bible and I had to understand, what does God really think about money?
Yeah.
And I'll give you just one quick story.
Nice.
Everyone knows the Samaritan, the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
If you don't, basically, there's a guy beaten up on the side of the road. He's all bloodied and he's knocked out, he's in a right mess.
Yeah.
A religious guy crosses the road and walks the other side because that's a dangerous neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, someone else walks by that's got importance and go, well, no, that's a dangerous neighborhood. I'll just try and stay in the shadows. I won't get beaten up like he's been beaten up. The Good Samaritan comes along. There's a guy beaten up on the side of the road. He knows it's a dangerous neighborhood, but what does he do? He picks him up, dusts him down, then he takes him to let's make it modern. He takes him to the nearest hotel.
Yeah.
Now, if you book a hotel in advance, a little bit cheaper, you just go and rock up at a hotel, can I have a room? It's expensive.
Yeah.
So he goes to the counter and he says, look, I've got this guy beaten up, I'd like to pay for him full board for 3 days.
Yeah.
What's that going to cost today? 500 quid? Maybe? £1,000? He took his wallet out and handed the guy at the hotel some money and said, I'll be back in 3 days. If he needs longer to recover, I'll give you some more money. If that Good Samaritan hadn't had that wealth, who's got £1,000 in their back pocket? If that Samaritan hadn't had wealth, what would he have been able to do? Dust him down, I'm ready to give him a glass of water and on his way?
Yeah.
So that Good Samaritan had many connotations, but some of it for sure is about having the means to help.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
And there are so many stories like that in the Bible. And I after months and months of looking at all these things where I should be a person that's got more than enough.
Yeah.
You can't help people from a position of poverty. You can be a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to make a big difference in someone's lives, if you're funding orphanages in various parts of the world, you can't do that from a broke position.
Yeah.
And where for me personally, I felt God was, Kev, you shouldn't have that. I got to a point in my strong belief as a Christian that God wants me to be powerful. He wants me to be influential, and he wants me to be wealthy, because from those three positions I can have an impact on this world.
Yeah. I heard Richard Branson say when I was a young entrepreneur, you know, for me, I've always got my kicks out of helping other people. It's nice to have money and buy nice stuff, but when you take care of others, it's where you get a real buzz. Absolutely. And I heard Richard Branson say, if you can become a billionaire, you can help a billion people. That's why I want to get wealthy, because I want to help so many. And for me, you know, I started my business originally because I wanted to put my mum into retirement, take care of her in my early years and in my 20s, which I did, which was lovely. And the more that I've wanted to succeed and create wealth was to help so many people. I mean, you helped so many people, and from your talk last week, it was phenomenal to see how much influence you have across the world. And the fact that you've got this wealth is allowing you to do that. And you know, I know you said you don't talk about religion too much. I think you should put it into the talks more, because for me, I'm quite religious. Yeah, my nan was very religious growing up. I pray to God every day. And I think that for an entrepreneur, it's a very lonely place. And if you've got God supporting you and you believe that he's there to have your back, and you know, because I'm like you, I had to rewire my thinking to first and foremost get out of my own way. Because so many business owners, they start a business, you think you're only worth 100 grand, you'll only make 100. You think you're only worth $1 million, you only make $1 million. And so you've got to rewire and put your faith in some higher power.
You talk about what you're expecting.
Okay, cool. So you rewired your brain. You know, you had a big wealth event in your life. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I sold 40% at the end of 2016, and then I sold the remainder of the company a year later. But at that point, because I'd built a company that was turning over tens of millions, I was used to those level of numbers.
Yeah.
Do I feel sorry for someone that wins the lottery? No, I don't feel sorry for them, but I know the challenges they're going to have.
Yeah.
Because instantly they've got a level of wealth they haven't worked for, and they don't appreciate it, and before you know it, a lot of it's gone. It's wasted.
So you sold the business, you're out the business, you got a big payout, and then where did you find yourself at that time?
In a bad place.
Yeah. Which for many listening in, you know, that's like, you know, for many entrepreneurs, that's what the goal is. But then all of a sudden, your purpose is gone. But you've got this big bank account.
I think it depends on why are you in business. If you are in business, and this is not a criticism, this is fine, because I've done investments just for this reason, to make money.
Yeah.
If you're in it just to make money and you can separate everything else from that one purpose, and you sell your business, fantastic. But when I started Checkatrade, it was to make a difference and to feed my family. It was never in my head, never, that I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to sell this company for a lot of money. Constantly, we never wanted to make a profit. Because that to me was, I'm paying tax. I don't want to pay tax. So I would be looking at with my financial manager, 3 or 4 months before the end of the financial year. What are our projections? Where are we going to be? Do we need to spend more money on marketing? How can we get to a point where we're just in the green when it comes to the books? And that's basically what I did for the whole 19 years. I never had any year where I think we probably made more than 50 grand profit.
So why when you exited did you not enjoy it? And after a period did you start to enjoy it?
Well, you already hit the nail on the head a minute ago. I lost my sense of purpose. And some of this is a little bit egotistical, I understand that, but hey, we're all pretty much the same, aren't we? Handing trophies over at Wembley and being Mr. Checkatrade. I never realised what that meant to me as an individual. I enjoyed that part of it, and now suddenly it's gone. Luncheons you would have with ITV, both regional and national, were great. The amount of people that wanted to take you out, and so a sense of purpose was gone. And I knew instantly, when we signed that contract, most people would, let's go and have a fantastic meal in a really nice restaurant in London, because obviously this was done in London. I just got on the train with my wife and went home. That was it. I didn't buy a new car. I didn't buy a new house. I get home, wake up the next morning, and I'm going, I've sold my baby. What have I done?
Yeah.
And I went back and I tried to buy it back. Instantly, I went back to the buyers and said, look, I'll cover all your insurance, all your lawyer's fees,
Yeah.
and I'll give you 10% on top of what you pay for it.
Yeah.
And of course they said no, because they bought it with a specific reason and goal.
Yeah. Why did you not go again straight away? Because had you started to get to a point where you enjoyed the money, or your charity work and stuff took over, so you found a new purpose?
I'm there now.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the next year, I'm still working in the business. I'm still CEO.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm still pushing it forward the best I can with 40% owners. But I know that whatever I do, eventually it's going to be them that are doing it.
Yeah.
And in the end, we came to a mutual agreement that what was supposed to be a longer term after 12 months, I left.
Okay.
And
cool.
that was all amicable, and it was all above board, and I was happy with the outcome. But at that point, I'm now absolutely no longer involved. And I've spoken to quite a few wealthy individuals that have gone through this. They've all gone through it.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
And the tunnel was pretty bleak, pretty dark. The money doesn't mean anything to me. Cars don't mean anything to me. Literally, I know this sounds bizarre for someone that might be listening to it. Like, you walked away with tens of millions.
Yeah.
Why are you snivelling?
Yeah.
And I get that, but until you've walked my life in my shoes, then you can't really.
I can understand it.
The only thing that was keeping me alive was my wife and daughters.
Yeah.
I was literally walking the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, it's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
But it's an important lesson. It's you have to understand that if you leave behind a purpose that you're so passionate about, then you've got to find a way. Money's never going to fill that hole, is it? Doesn't matter how much it is. Great to have it, and you can do great things with it. But if there's no purpose, then what are you getting up for?
So I then had to start speaking to myself.
Yep.
Kev, you know the journey that you've been on. You know the power of what comes out of your mouth directs your life. You got to start being a little bit more. My exclusivity period was quite short. It was only 20 months, I think.
Yeah.
When I hit that 20-month point, I was in a real dark place. So it was never in me.
It's also the energy that goes into a startup, isn't it? It's like, even if you've got a significant amount of money behind you, you either buy the business that exists or invest in a business, or you have to start it from scratch. But that could take years and years and years, even with the money, to get it right. So I've noticed it with Trade Mastermind, doing it a second time around. It's been 4 years of like 7-day-a-week graft again. I'm thinking, if I exit, how many more times do I want to do this? The startup piece? Probably not too many more.
Well, when you exit, someone will come and say, overnight success, haven't you been lucky?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, hold on. I've been working 70 hours a week for the last 20 years. And when something comes up, everything else has got to stop, and you've got to go and put the fire out.
Yeah. So what was it like going into the business as CEO after you'd sold a majority stake and you had to show up? Did they start, becoming your boss and telling you what to do and all of that type of stuff? Because that's what you hear happens when people, bring people into the company. And did you like that, not like it?
All I really want to say on that is a year later I left, and it was fairly amicable at that point.
Okay, that's good. That's great that you got out amicably, because it's I can imagine it's hard. I've not had that. When I had Sugar come into the business, I found that quite difficult. It wasn't really trying to run it and tell me what to do so much, but you then had to answer to somebody else on a 50-50 stake. So it changes the game, doesn't it? Changes the dynamic of the business.
The worst dynamic was with the team. Because the team's going, Kev, we're going to have another boss. So we've got to be careful what we do and don't do, because when you're gone, we've got another master. We've got to toe the line to somewhat with the masters now.
Where do you see the construction industry moving over the next decade? I think it's wide open really right now.
Question. AI will have a massive impact, but not if your boiler breaks down. You're always going to need tradesmen in your home, so I think the trade industry is a good one to be in, because AI is not going to replace you. But I do believe that when I brought into the industry reviews, that was like even evolutionary jump. It was Thompson's Yellow Pages, now reviews. So what's the next jump? And I think it's ripe for it. I think a lot of tradesmen out there are looking for something that they can join, put their name to, and feel really proud and privileged to be part of. I think there is a gap in the marketplace for that, and I know what it is. I sold Checkatrade. I experimented on guaranteeing workmanship, and that's not a lip service guarantee. This is a genuine, if you've got something wrong with a job, I will send someone out to put it right at no extra cost to you. And that to me was, wow, how could you possibly do that, Kev? You know, I've still got all the numbers in my head. I know exactly where I was when I sold the company. We were generating somewhere between 3.25 to 3.5 billion for the trade industry. That's what we were generating.
Fantastic.
And I knew through analysis how many jobs went wrong through my trades and what it would roughly cost to put all those jobs right. And it sounds a big number, but when you compare it to 2.5 billion, it's a slither. It would have cost 11 million to put the jobs right.
Wow.
So that's not much.
But
it's still 11 million. Where am I going to get 11 million from? I struggled very hard on the consumer. If you suddenly say, oh, we're going to guarantee the job, they might see, oh, there's a little bit of a nick out of this. Come and put it right, Kev. So how do I combat that? How do I prevent a can of worms? I'm not going to tell you because it's in my head and who else is listening to this podcast. But the next level is going to be what I believe is going to be called assured trades. And I've already bought the domain, of course.
Nice.
It's assured trades. If you use one of these trades and the job goes wrong, you will have it put right.
Nice.
The tagline is, why would you go anywhere else? Even if you've used a previous builder that did a reasonable job, there's always some niggle. If you've now got a brand that's saying, we'll put it right, why would you go anywhere else?
And what is that? Is that what trades join, or is it a trades business that you start that delivers it?
This will probably be, if I do it, and I'm still pondering on it quite severely, because coming back to what you said before, you do it a second time. I was 35 when I started, I'm 61 now. And you know, the energy level, I've still got pretty good energy levels. Do I want to work 14 hours a day, regardless of the energy? No, I don't. But can my acumen now, and can my history, and can my knowledge of the industry compensate? Of course. Of course, massively, because I'm not going to make the same mistakes twice. I know what trades want. I know what consumers want. It's an interesting one that I'm about 80% there in making my decision on starting this new one.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a big success like Checkatrade was. You've now been down to Trade Mastermind a number of times to come and speak, and you see what we're doing here, helping trades businesses to scale up. What's your opinion for any trades business owner from the outside watching in on Trade Mastermind and how it's helping the sector?
In Checkatrade, this was very common. A one-man band, maybe a two-man band joins Checkatrade, and we would say to them, you've got to do what we tell you to do. If you just give us some money and don't do anything, if you don't follow our advice on how you can build your company, this is not going to work for you. But once you reach 50 feedbacks, and that was like the benchmark for Checkatrade to work really well for them. It will excel. So they'd go, well, okay, I'll get to 50 feedbacks as quick as I can. And now they're having to employ another person, and now they're having to employ another person, and then within a year and a half of being a member of Checkatrade, they're employing 4 or 5 people. And what we didn't do is that we couldn't educate them on how to run their business. And so quite often we would have trades leave us because we were generating too much work. So where I think, if I understand the Trade Mastermind, which I think I do, is that you're equipping them with the knowledge on how to handle a growing business. But quite often these trades would say, I just can't cope with employing 6 people. Life was easier when I was on my own. And it's simply because they didn't have the knowledge or the tools. So they would literally stop advertising on Checkatrade because they don't want their phone to ring anymore, and they'd go back to being a one-man band.
Definitely.
How sad is that? So that's where I think Trade Mastermind comes in. You're equipping them.
That's it. We're giving the education to be able to scale. I think the thing that we don't have right now is the leads. So, you know, the marketing piece. We bring the business in, we give them the tools, the mindset, the motivation, and the education to start to scale. sale, and then at the minute they are going externally to different digital marketing agencies or lead gen providers to get the bit that we don't offer. I'd love to have that function within our business. I've not gone into it because when a business starts to spend a few grand a month on pay-per-click and Facebook ads, you got to have the specialism to manage the leads, and then you got to have the process in the business to get the best out of the leads. Now, you don't usually hear too many businesses talking great about digital marketing companies, so I've tried to stay away from it, but we're sending hundreds and hundreds of businesses into the marketplace to go and buy from other people all of their marketing and all of their leads. So I'd love to add some sort of marketing function into this, and then they'd be able to get that bit, because anytime we hear them getting results, it's they've got the leads and our sales training gets them on the sales. Anytime they're not getting results is the lead gen provider's not giving them enough leads. And so they can't execute on the training because they haven't got the leads. It's the marketing piece that's missing in that.
I agree.
Okay, great. So Kevin, I know we're going to go and do a talk upstairs in I think the next 5 minutes. So we'll wrap this one up. Thank you very much for being here, and really appreciate your time and great to see you. Yeah, thanks for the story. Cheers.